we did want to just jump right into some movement at the end of the month here. We've been going through what we've done. This is our fourth.
This is the fourth week.
workshop.
Yep, fourth workshop for June.
Yeah, and so those of you who've been following along, week one we went through kind of the foundations of movement. We focused on joint mobility. We're going to do a little bit of that today. The week two we went through some soft tissue mobility. So that's how to deal with the addressing like tight muscles and joint capsules, those kinds of things, using the tools. Last week we went through some basic dynamic mobility, and this week we want to continue that trend. We're going to get into some particularly stuff Craig and I were talking about, even just in our own lives. We're spending so much time now sitting at our laptops. I'm spending a lot of time at my kitchen table, so awful for my posture, and I'm feeling really tight through, particularly up here in the chest, shoulders, and then my hips. And actually, can you just talk briefly about like how all that connects to really like our big modus operandi here in practice when we have lots of tightness in the front part of our body? What does that do neurologically?
Okay, so the left side of our brains is what controls our flexors. Those are the muscles that pull your limbs and your head and neck closer to each other. Okay, so my flexors are my biceps, my hamstrings, my abdominals, my neck muscles. They pull you into that fetal position, if you will. Okay, and then the right side of your brain is the part that opens you up and gives you extension in a nice open wide position. So neurologically, when we are in stress, the left side of the brain becomes increased in activity. So our flexors get really tight, our head starts to creep forward, our shoulders roll forward, and we start to feel the effects of that compression within our joints. When you're in extension, when you're relaxed, exercise, chiropractic adjustments, massage, meditation, we stimulate the right side of the brain to actually engage the extension and opening up of your body. Okay? So how it pertains to all of us is that it's very unnatural and difficult for us to sit at a keyboard all day in a forced flexion posture. We get a lot of audio-visual stimulation to the brain, which then causes the left side to become really overactive, and the right side kind of lags a little bit in terms of being able to keep that in check. And so we kind of take on these flexed postures. I always joke, we sleep in the fetal position, we get up, we eat our breakfast, we drive to work, we sit at our desk, we drive home, we eat dinner, we sit in front of the TV, and then we go back to bed. And we haven't really done a whole lot to extend and keep ourselves open. So the nature of all of that is that adjustments, moving your body, starting to unwind that helps to get all of the ravages of that flexion position to unwind. And that's really kind of what we're after here. So with your adjustments, all of this stuff that we've been teaching over this last 4 weeks, it's going to help you to hold your adjustments better. Your tissues are going to be happier. You're going to be able to move, feel, and function better. And that's really what the goal was for why we presented it. So that said, we're going to jump right into some joint-to-joint mobility. We're going to start with the shoulders. Dr. John's going to lead us through some of that. I'm going to chime in and give us some directions here. So let me see if I can move you here so I can.
So hopefully everyone can see you. I think everyone can stand up if you're not already standing up. And we're just going to start with some shoulder rolling. First, just in think of picturing your shoulder blades just gliding along your rib cage. Change direction. And we're actually rolling the shoulders forward. We're just really aiming to get a bit more movement through the shoulder blades. While we're there, let's do some round into the position that Craig was just talking about, right? Rounding way forward, and then open up, open the chest up, draw the hands back, stick your heart up to the ceiling, up to the sky. Do a couple more of those.
This is a great way to get the shoulder blades moving properly. The mid-back actually is one of the most troublesome areas that causes most of the grief for people, because when you're sitting, you end up naturally holding your posture with your structure rather than actively with your muscles. So the mid back gets super stiff and rigid, and then we get into these kind of flexion postures, getting the the Quasimodo and the rounding. As we age is really what it is. Unless we can get extension, thoracic extension or rib cage extension is vital to make sure that our shoulders move properly and our head position stays healthy.
Yeah. I'll try this one. So just hands right overhead. And just as Craig was talking there, that we know that a lot of people that deal with shoulder problems, so the shoulder problem itself is actually secondary to things happening more centrally. So within the spine, distortion in the spine, that's a big one. It's that rounding of the upper back. We'll just do 10 of these. Try and keep the elbows straight, biceps to your ears. Perfect. Try this one, so just hands up at 90 degrees, and we're gonna roll one side to the other.
If you notice, when Dr. John turns towards that side, okay, the palm that he's looking towards or going towards is actually facing upwards, and the other palm is down, and then as he turns, he rotates.
And we're aiming for trying to get full rotation both directions.
This is really nice. It actually, the nerves that come from our spinal cord down into our fingertips, when we do this, they actually slide back and forth in those tunnels that they travel through, and it helps to keep them free and relaxed and happy.
Yeah. Let's grab your tune-up ball or your yoga or your lacrosse ball, tennis ball. We're going to go against the wall. We're going to give the muscles in the front of our chest some work here. So I'm not sure, Craig.
Yep.
Oh, you can see me. Perfect.
We can see you.
So we're going to get the ball hooked into this little nook between your shoulder and your chest. And then your goal is you're going to scan all through the pec muscles. So it'll look a little bit not that exciting, but I'm just rolling around, seeking out those tight bands in the muscle. Yeah.
And yes, if you have breasts, this is going to be a little bit uncomfortable in certain positions. So
the idea is to scan around, and then you may find some really tender spots. Then you can hold the position, take a couple of nice deep breaths. The other thing you can do is if you find a point that's particularly tender, then just start to move the arm. Okay, slide it up the wall and back down, or open up. Just really, it's kind of a choose your own adventure.
The other one I like there is you can actually take your arm and pull it behind your back.
A little bit higher here. Yes. Just like this.
Yep. And then push the shoulder towards the wall and then bring the hand back overhead, almost like a swimming move.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll change sides.
So the only rules of the game with using any of the balls is that anywhere that you're on the tissue, if you start to feel something electrical or a bit of a tingle, it usually means that you're on a nerve. So you just got to move away from that. And it should never feel worse after you're done. If it does, it just means that you went a little too vigorous, and just slow down or back off the next time. So.
I should say you could also be doing this on the floor. It's just a little bit harder to move yourself around. So I find the wall is a bit easier, a bit more dynamic.
I find if you do it on the floor, you might need like a small 1-inch book just to give you a little bit of lift with the ball. You could use potentially a yoga block. That would probably work too. You just make sure that the ball isn't too hard and too firm.
Okay, so I used to say, personally, I spend about 90 seconds, 2 minutes per side. That's just a nice way to start to stimulate those tissues. We're just kind of waking them up, because next we're actually going to stretch them out. So I'm going to get you guys to go on the floor and see which way. Good there, perfect. So what we're going to do, we'll start with the right arm, just so that we're all doing the same, and it'll be easier for me cueing. I'm gonna get you, so you're lying on your belly, you need to reach as far as you can with your right arm. Get your hand on the floor.
So the right arm is just straight out to the side, perpendicular to the body.
And then we're gonna roll our body over, keeping the shoulder on the floor. Okay, so you may have a tendency to wanna, if you're really tight, the shoulder may pop up. So only go as far as you can, keeping the shoulder on the floor. You can swing your leg across and back, that'll just give you a bit more stability. Keeping your, like you can keep your abs and glutes a little bit tense so that you protect your low back.
So if you feel like you can't rotate as much as Dr. John is, that's okay. Your goal is to just try to move over so that you feel a nice gentle stretch through the front of the chest. As Dr. John has rotated over, he's actually probably going to feel that a little bit more through his abdomen, even into that left hip flexor front of the thigh.
And the kind of the addition to this one, we're going to do this in 3 different positions, is I'm going to get you to do some contract, relax. So what you're going to do with your hand on the floor, you're going to push down into the floor, contracting the muscles in your chest and your arm.
So you're pressing essentially the whole arm down into the floor to try to stimulate the muscle in the chest to contract.
And then when we relax, usually you'll be able to open up
and stretch a little further.
So we'll do one more cycle like that.
So we're press down into the ground. Hold it for 5 to 10 seconds and then relax. Big breath in, let it all the way out, and then open things up a little further.
Okay. Second position. Maybe you can talk about why we do these three positions.
Yep. And it's just working on the different kind of angles and heads of not only the chest muscles, but some of the shoulder muscles. You know, the fibers of the chest actually originate from the breastbone, and they come together into like a seashell type of shape towards the attachment site on the front side of the shoulder. So we're just trying to work through all the different fibers and directions of the fibers in the chest muscles as well as the rotator cuff muscles.
We're going to do that contract, relax cycle again. This time you're going to focus on pushing your hand into the ground, like you're trying to do this motion. Obviously it's not going to go anywhere, but you're just pushing. And then I always like to take a deep breath in. As I relax, you'll feel the muscle kind of get to a new length. You should be able to open up a bit further. And usually two cycles of contract, relax is a good frequency. So push one more time, pushing the hand down. And relax. Okay, we're going to go into the third position. There's a lot of time to spend on one side, but it's totally worth it. You're going to feel when you get up. We're going to reach, as if we're forming a Y. Okay, if we have both arms. So I'm reaching up on an angle away from my shoulder. Reach as far as you can, and then we're going to roll back.
So this one you might feel a little bit more through your armpit and into the sides of your ribs. Again, don't try to force it. Just try to let your body guide how much it allows you to stretch over. These are such an often neglected muscle to stretch, but they are so overactive in most of us because of all the time that we spend in these seated positions. So it's a really good one to open up the entire rib cage. This actually helps to open up the diaphragm as well, like through the abdomen. Just does a lot to open the normal, natural motion and movement of the rib cage.
Is there a way of doing that standing up? I cannot lie down on the floor.
Yeah, for sure you could. Yep, you totally could. Same thing, you just obviously wouldn't try to twist your leg over and try to kind of balance that way. But if I could, I'll just show you kind of up against the wall. Maybe we'll do the left side up against the wall.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So Again, we'll start in that first position, so the arm's gonna go straight out to the side. So I can come into the wall, and I can simply just try to open my chest up this way. And while I'm doing that, I'm actually trying to actively push my right shoulder backwards. And I can hold that, and then I can do my contract relax. So I can press into the wall for 10 seconds. Big breath in, let it all the way out. Stretch a little further into that stretch position.
The real handy thing with the contract relax is basically when you're contracting, you're ramping up the tension so that your brain thinks that there's way more tension in the joint. So it actually, when you then consciously relax, it allows the kind of let go of all that neurologic tension that's in the muscle.
So I'm going to contract again. And I'm going to relax and open up a bit more. I can come down to position 2. So same thing. I'm trying to keep my shoulder against the wall as best I can.
Mm-hmm.
For this one, I think naturally it's just the way in which it is your shoulder wants to come off of the wall. But I'm just going to, and you can hold on to the wall too if you like, and you can just gently push open, hold that stretch.
You really fight to have the shoulder stay on the wall.
So I can press into the wall again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Open up a bit further. I kind of like doing like almost like a 10-second on, 20-second off kind of thing. So press in again for 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then relax and stretch open again. Hold that for about 20 seconds.
Yeah, that's a good point, Craig. So holding in that new, like as you gain the range in the joint, you want to hold in that position to reset. So that basically retrains your brain that like, oh, this is safe.
So we can shake it out now. We can kind of relax, and then we're going to go up to that last position. So it's almost like maybe a 11 o'clock position or 10 o'clock position of the time clock. And again, we're going to stretch open. We can press for 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And then open and relax. As Dr. John was saying, the nature of our muscles is that they're elastic. And when they stretch, there's actually a receptor in them that tells them to contract again. So we're essentially overriding that mechanism and allowing that muscle to gain some length. We'll press into the wall again. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And then we'll stretch open again.
And while we're holding this last one, the contract relax, it's a principle that you can apply to any muscle.
Any muscle, yeah.
And so it's a really great way to change the effect of a stretch. So if you're in the habit of just doing some standard stretching, just add that in next time. Just think, okay, just contract the muscles that you're stretching and then hold for 10 seconds, relax for 20 seconds.
Yep.
Awesome.
So if you feel like after you've done a stretch session, I don't really feel like I've gotten anywhere, you can kind of hack your nervous system and try to get it to relax a bit more. Okay, so now if you have a broomstick handy, that will be helpful. Canoe paddle, you could do hockey stick.
Yeah.
Just anything that
gets your hands so you can. It needs to be a certain length because ultimately we're going to do what's called pass-throughs. Okay, we're not going to do that first. You could actually do this with like a length of rope or even a TheraBand.
Yeah, you could do them with the same. So
the first one, this one is a little bit harder to do with the rope, but it's a nice way to just start opening up.
I can see that.
So we're going to stand in a fencer stance. So we'll all do left foot forward, left hand forward. Okay. And what we're going to do is it kind of looks like paddling a canoe. So we're going to push the hand back, okay, with hands back. I'm rotating the body. Okay, so it's a nice way to open up the hips too. And we're gonna come back. We're not gonna hold it, we're gonna go in and out of that position.
So if you're at the driving range tomorrow or on the first tee, this is a great way to warm up and loosen up those rotational muscles through your trunk, as well as get your low back working in the right way. And then also too, you can get those glutes to activate.
Yeah. I know where you're headed tomorrow. Change sides, so right foot forward is gonna do 10 of those. And again, you're using your left hand to drive your right hand back, opening up the chest, those muscles that we just stretched, we're giving them a different stimulus here. Okay, 2 more. Okay, then I want you to grab your dowel. I would go start like as wide as you can. We can always make this more intense. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do what's called a pass-through. So you're gonna raise the bar overhead, keeping the elbows straight, and then you're gonna let the bar fall back behind you as far as you can. So some of you might not be able to get all the way down, but if you can, see if we can bring the bar all the way down so it's behind your back. Okay, you might feel a little bit of a stretch in the forearms and through the biceps. And then we're gonna pull it back. So you're gonna use the muscles of your shoulders, squeeze the shoulder blades. You can raise the shoulders up by your ears and come back to the front. So this one.
This goes back to your days on the monkey bars as a kid when you would do the pass through or the skin the cat.
Yeah, that's right. The gymnastics move. That's next week. So we're gonna end up doing 10 of these. So if you're like, oh, that's super easy, I can do that, no problem. Just bring your hands in slightly, a centimeter at a time. And we're looking for the point where you feel a good amount of tension, but you're still able to get all the way around. Okay, nice and slow and controlled for 10 reps. Now, if you can't get all the way back, that's okay. Go as far as you can. So you might only be able to get to here, that's okay. What I'll ask you to do is just spend a couple of seconds trying to squeeze your shoulder blades together and then come back around.
25.
Good. So this is a really great movement that, I mean, we all have rooms at home. That's a really nice one to do. I have one in my office. So when I'm sitting at my computer, I get a little alarm that goes off. I pick up the broomstick, do 10, 15 pass-throughs. It's just a nice way to I don't know, wake my body up again.
Sure. Get the shoulders moving. You can use a ski pole, you can use a hockey stick, you can use just about it.
I got no sound.
No sound? Can you hear us? Wave if you can hear me.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Okay, good.
Okay.
You can hear us? Carol, you can hear us? Martin, you can hear us? Yep. Okay.
Good.
We're good.
Okay. So next we're actually going to move down into the lower body. We're still going to use our dowel, okay, our broomstick. You're just going to use that for some stability. We're going to do some leg swings. So some nice gentle leg swings, back and forth. We did these in the joint to joint series.
If you don't have a dowel right now or a broomstick, just use your desk or a chair or countertop or.
Okay, we're just doing 10 back and forth. Same leg, we're going to go side to side.
And as always, only go as far as you feel comfortable. This isn't it's not meant to be exertional in any real sense. It's just you're trying to create some motion and mobility. So if you have only half of the motion that Dr. John does, that's okay. Our goal is to try and get that to improve over the next couple of weeks.
Same leg. Okay, so we're doing 3 different movements on the same leg. The next one, we're going to raise the knee up high as you can. open it up, turn the knee down, back to the side, and then we're going to reverse that. Come up, bring the knee up high as you can, back down to the ground. We're going to do 5 of those.
Now, some of you might be getting a cramp there in your cheek.
Yeah.
So just go easy with it, but the goal is to try and get that hip to move.
Yeah, I've obviously worked a lot on my squat mobility here. If you can only get up to here, that's okay. We want to be able to get that knee above the hip. So if you're down here right now, then that just means, okay, we got some work to do over the next 6 months, work to get the strength and mobility so that you can hold that knee up above your hip. Okay, so a total of 5 on that side. I'll do one more. Raise the knee up, out to the side, rotate and down. Okay, so we're going to do these same 3 movements on the other side. So we're swinging the left leg, dowels in the right arm.
Again, always trying to initiate the motion and mobility and movement from the hip, not just trying to swing the foot.
Swinging your whole body.
Yeah, you really just want to try to imagine like using the muscles of the hip to move forwards, move backwards. All of the movement starts at the hip.
Good, side to side in front of you. Okay, get nice and gentle.
Now, for those of you that have troubles with a knee or other joint, again, trying to balancing on that one leg might be a challenge. So again, you're not trying to maybe go as fast. You're just trying to actually go across the midline of your body in a slow kind of manner and just trying to stay stable. So we don't want you getting into a situation where you put extra stress on that joint. So
stability before mobility. So that's side to side. And then next one is you're going to raise the knee up, nice and high, out to the side, and down. So let me know if you get the warning.
Yeah, we got 10.
Okay. So up, out to the side, rotate, and down, and then reverse that. Good. Total of 5. This one you may start to feel like your stance leg's probably getting a little bit sore, and then in the hip crease, that muscle might be getting a little bit fired up. We're going to, that's what we're going to finish on, is a nice stretch for that part.
Can you, just 1 second, I keep seeing Winnie's screen when you're demonstrating things.
Oh, okay. Oh, Winnie, you have no sound. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happened there.
So, yeah. Anyway, I'm Terry Lynn, but every time you're demonstrating that hip roll you're doing now, I keep seeing Winnie's screen.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry, Winnie, I'm just going to try and mute you here. I think what happens is it pops up your screen if we hear noises coming from your yours.
Yeah.
Winnie, not to fret because we are recording this, so we'll be able to send this to you. So, and I did get your question. I am going to answer that.
Okay, so last movement of the day. So we're going to go a little bit over time here, but this is one that one of the most common stretches that you see people doing, and it's prescribed by physios and chiropractors. And one of the things that drives Dr. Craig and I crazy is seeing people do it incorrectly because then it's not effective. So what we're focusing on is stretching the big muscle that goes from the front of your hip and it goes actually connecting to your spine. When we often see this one is kind of people get a bit of an arch, and it really makes it way less effective. So what I want you to do, Craig, you can point out what's the key things here.
When you're in this position and that front knee presses forward, at the same time, we want this glute muscle to squeeze. So a big contraction of that glute muscle will stop that overarching of the low back. So your goal is to press the front knee forward, simultaneously squeezing the buttock on the back. Yeah. You can see the back foot is just simply The top of the foot is flat against the floor.
And then basically you just want to keep that glute on like a maximum contraction the whole time you're doing the stretch. That actually helps to create even more of a effective stretch because of the way that contraction inhibits this muscle.
So the way the nervous system functions is if I want to contract my bicep, I have to relax the back of my arm, the tricep. So same thing, if I want to contract my tricep and extend my arm, I have to relax the bicep. So when I contract the glute muscle, I relax the hip flexor. So without activating one side, you're not going to get a stretch of the other side very well.
Okay, so 90 seconds. We'll switch sides just to finish up here. I'll flip around here just so we can keep the same perspective.
So right knee's up, left knee is down. We're going to push the right knee forward. We're going to squeeze that left buttock in a good tight position. Core is strong. A good thing to think about is try to pull your belly button away from your waistband of your shorts or your belt or your pants or whatever you're wearing.
Almost like kind of like sucking it up and in.
Another thing I like to do in this position is think about elevating your entire rib cage and separating it off the pelvis. So you're essentially lifting the whole pelvis, the whole rib cage off of the pelvis while you're doing all of that. It really gives you a nice, big, deep stretch at the higher points of your hip flexor.
If you want to add a little bit more, we did this variation of this last week, is just bringing the arm up, and then we can lean to the other side.
Yep. Another way is you can actually get Dr. John to drop his right hand and try to touch the ground on the other side. That's another way to do it.
Oh, that's awful. Awfully good.
Awfully good. The little pearls that you learn over time.
Awesome. So those are some of our favorite movements to help open up the shoulders, the chest, and the hips. Big areas to focus on, and they relate directly back to the spine. Of course, we said at the beginning, a lot of times hip, shoulder problems are actually secondary to what's going on in the spine. So that's why we're always making sure that your spine's moving effectively, moving properly.
Yeah, it starts with that, and then you can work on some of the peripheral stuff, or we call the secondary effects, the secondary conditions. But whether you've been on a long drive, you've been in an airplane for a long period of time, you're sitting at your desk, these are all fantastic ways that you can help to loosen yourself up, get things motion and moving in there. So, we've got a couple minutes here. Hey, good, Kath, your shoulders feel better, good.
Awesome.
Winnie, you had asked a question. I think Winnie actually left, but she straightened her left. You're still there?
No,
Yep.
I left because I couldn't hear you, so I have to leave and come back to get back the sound.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So your answer to your shoulder ice heat, I like heating pad for what you're describing. So heat is our best friend because, years ago they used to say you want to ice every single thing that you hurt, right? That was kind of the first aid mantra. What we started to discover is ice is really good for pain control, but it's not great for managing tissue healing, and so heat is a better friend for that. And then I would just try to, the personal massager, even doing some of the stretches that we did today, just go easy on the pass-throughs. And then I think the other day we had showed, like, even with a ball.
But it does ache though.
I'm sorry?
Oh.
Even with the ball, you can actually, up against the wall, we can actually roll through the muscles of the shoulder. We can start to move towards the front. We can go all the way to the back. And we can continue to use the ball up against the back of the shoulder as we work through those tissues. Yeah. Okay?
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
There's, I'm not sure if other people, I know our audio is kind of going in and out here. So if there are any other questions, just put it in the chat box or put your hand up. Otherwise, we will be sending out recordings of today, and those people on my list will be sending out the 4 weeks of recordings so that you'll get access to those.
Okay. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you.
no, you're so very welcome.
Stay tuned for what our plan is for July. We would love to get back to doing our workshops in person. We're just waiting for to get clarity on what that actually looks like.
Yeah.
Next month is the theme is Think by Design. And so if we're not hosting a live event in person, then we'll certainly be recording some videos or doing another workshop. So just pay attention or keep an eye out for an email from us as we get more information.
Yeah, and then quite honestly, the Think by Design is probably one of the best of the grouping of workshops that we do, because it is the framework upon which you start to understand exactly how we make choices and decisions, and how we can make better choices and decisions for how we eat, how we move, and of course, how we think. So, okay. With that, thank you everybody for joining us. Stay tuned. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Take care.